Hi, this is Liz Cornell, and this is the next part, the second part, and we're going to talk a little bit about lameness and unevenness and what should be expected of you to identify this in your sessions. So, obviously, lots of times we're called in because the horse isn't quite right. They know the horse is struggling. And in your assessment stage, that's when you should be moving the horse out and checking on how they move at the walk, hopefully maybe even the trot. Can be in circles, can be start with straight lines. So I don't want to spend a lot of time in this video trying to show you lots of clips of what's lame and what isn't, what's stiff and what isn't. There's tons of videos already out there on the internet, so I don't want to reinvent the wheel for you here. I do encourage you to go online, go into YouTube, do some searching for lame horse or uneven steps or horse slightly off. The more lame they are, the easier it is to identify. Obviously, the slighter the problem, the harder it is to identify sometimes. But you can get your eye trained, and I really encourage you to do that. So when something isn't quite right and you can see it, let me just briefly go over what you might to help you identify where the problem can be. And I should preface this to say, I'm not a vet, you're not a vet, right? If it's a serious problem, they need to get a vet out, and you may end up telling them that at the end, by the end of your session. But sometimes you're lucky and you figure it out, or you make the horse better because it's really a soft tissue problem. So hard to know, but anyways, you were called in and you need to see the horse move in the beginning. So obviously observe the footfalls. If they're tight, the footfalls may not be even, especially watch the hind feet, see how far they track into the front feet. If they're obviously lame on a front limb, somehow the way I identify which limb it is that I will in my head count 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 as I watch the footfalls in the front land. Now when I do that, 1 is quick, the word 2 I'm holding longer, so the horse is trying to get off the bad foot quickly. So the quicker beat is the one that they're in pain or discomfort, and they're trying to get off that leg quicker. So when I say 1, 2, 1, 2, the foot that's landing on the word 1 for me, that's how I do it generally. Now there's also head bobbing that occurs, as many of you are aware of. So the way the head bob works is when they step on the bad foot, the head is going to go up. When they land on the good leg, the comfortable leg, the head will come down. The reason they lift that head up is because if they were to put the head down on that bad foot, they just added a lot more weight and made it more painful. So using their neck and head, they'll throw it up to try to lessen the blow of weight on the bad leg. So that's why they do that. So if you want to watch the head bob, you can too. That's easy to do as well. For some reason, I have a better time just counting out loud. But whatever works for you, it doesn't matter. So that's generally how I figure out whether it's which front limb is the problem. Now, if the problem's in the back legs, that is a little bit harder to diagnose. And generally, the reason it's harder is because one leg, if it's off, it may, depending on where in the hind it is, they may actually not stepping out far behind, but stepping more under with a hind leg, or they can't step under and they're stepping out more behind, which to me is a little easier to see. But when they shorten it up behind and try and step under extra and underneath, that's a little harder to see for me anyways. So what I end up doing is I'll have them take the horse directly away from me and trot the horse out. And generally the hip that's dropping the most, I don't know which side, that side is got the hind end issue. Could be even in the pelvis. I had one horse that clearly was dropping his left hip, and this was years ago when I didn't know much, and I took 3 vets to tell me it was a left hind suspensory, which was very annoying because later on I realized, well, that hip's been dropping the whole time. Why didn't they thought it was other things. So kissing spines and all kinds of crazy, which it wasn't. So anyways, vets aren't perfect, neither are we. But I learned that about hind end lameness, is to just watch them go away from you. Okay, so, but you're not a vet, but it is good to figure out where the issue might be so that you can try to help the horse, because it could be a soft tissue problem. It's hard to know. So, now, is it your responsibility to find the real root of the problem and what the cause and source of the issue is? No, technically no, you're not a vet. However, I do like to get the history, and I will spend time talking more about the history and kind of playing detective a little bit to see what had been going on, how much work they had been in. The saddle, I definitely checked the saddle. I've seen the saddle make all kinds of horses lame. It happens, it really does. So I know Sharon had done the piece about mostly English saddle fit. It's not too much different in the Western world, but it is and it is and it isn't. So that's why we're going to do a short segment on fitting the Western saddle, because that is really important. And honestly, it's not that hard to give them some guidance as to how to fix a poorly fitting Western saddle, believe it or not. So at least that's what I've found. So we're going to talk about that in another segment. However, what I'm trying to say is the saddle can definitely impact the soundness. So it's hard to find the root cause. You might get lucky and help them figure it out, and you might not. They could have a new abscess. I mean, it could be so many things. But one thing I would like to stress in that is to always have them stand square and check their pelvis and their shoulders just to make sure they're somewhat balanced. So if you square them up and stand directly behind them, look for one side being higher or lower than the other with the pelvis. I did fix a horse who was very lame on his right hind, and I could really see the pelvis was twisted and down. He had been in a trailer accident. So they'd kind of given up. I don't know why they gave up with the vets. They couldn't get him sound, but I walked in, and I guess they didn't try a chiropractor, which is what they should have done. And I said, well, this pelvis is pretty bad on the right side. Maybe that's why he's lame on the right hind. So I did a couple ANMR sessions, with the tool, with the other course here at Holistic Animal Studies. And after a couple of sessions, he did come sound. So we got the pelvis back up where it needed to be. So stand behind the horse, check the pelvis, make sure they're square. Also look down in the shoulders. Sometimes the scapulas are off a little bit. I did have a lame horse once that I went to work on, and turns out when I looked down, literally the scapula on the right side was 2 to 3 inches lower than one on the left. I mean, it was way down. I'd never seen one that bad. So that was the reason why the horse was suddenly not wanting to be ridden and giving the woman all kinds of trouble. So, which is why she had me come in. I did raise that scapula after the massage. I do the massage, and then I did the ANMR, and certainly she came sound, and she was able to go back to riding her again. So I got lucky there. However, if you don't do ANMR, that's okay. That's when you recommend a chiropractor to come in to straighten that out. So, and they will appreciate you finding these things, the owners, because most of them don't think of squaring them up and looking down the bodies. And so that's a really good thing to do in the assessment stage. Okay, so like I said, you can't always find the root cause, but Sometimes you can, maybe it is a tight knot or a pulled muscle or something, and we're going to talk a little bit more about psoas muscle in an upcoming clip here. But you do the best you can do, and the saddle fit, as I mentioned, is a real biggie, and I can go into all kinds of stories, but I won't here. Now, I'm going to close this out by saying that you really need to move the horse out when you are done with your session. I don't care if you just do a massage or if you do other therapies too, along with the massage. You really need to see the horse move out at the end, because you really need to compare the before and after. So there's two reasons you want to do this. One is hopefully the horse looks better, and you want to point out all the good things that you just did, because A, the owner's eye may not be as trained as yours in a lot of cases, but B, they need to feel good. They need to feel like, hey, I had massage done and the horse looks so much better, or is feeling better. So point out he's more relaxed, he's striding through better, whatever, that one hind leg that wasn't tracking up is now tracking up, or whatever it is. Talk about the positive. That way, when they write the check in a few minutes, they're going to be happy about doing that, and they may have you back. Now, 1 in 25 cases, sometimes when you move the horse out afterwards, the horse may actually be worse. Okay, so this is the second reason why it's important to move the horse out, because if the horse is worse, you don't want to leave without discussing it with them, and they put the horse out and the horse is walking around and it looks worse, and you've left and you haven't discussed it. Now you're blamed for the horse looking worse. Every time the horse has looked worse when I've worked on a horse, and it has happened, not a lot, but it does happen now and then, what I've just done with my therapy work is I've loosened up all those tight muscles. All those muscles that were compensating for an issue have just been relaxed. And so when you put them back, when they've let it all go, so to speak, and then you walk them out, the real problem is now going to come to the surface, because those muscles aren't compensating anymore. So that you're going to immediately say, aha, this is a good thing. This is actually great news for the customer and for the horse, because you just help uncover the area where the problem really is lying. And that's when you need to generally say, you need to get a vet out, because now it's obviously in the left front or the right hind or the left hind. When that happens, you need to see where they're worse and say, aha, okay, this is the problem area that needs attention. So you've actually just done them a favor. So you need to spin it in that way and let them know, hey, this is the area. And I have literally uncovered suspensory problems, tendon problems, abscesses on a few occasions. There's another one that was a biggie that I found for somebody. But anyways, tendons, I think I said that. But there are things that you're going to help uncover at times, and they are going to be so grateful. So that's why you don't want to leave if the horse is worse. Again, it doesn't happen that often, but it definitely can happen if you've done a good job. So that's really the long and short of what I wanted to talk to you about today, is to always assess the gaits, look for those stiffnesses in the beginning, point out at the end all the improvements, and then your customer will be so much happier because they feel like you definitely helped their horse. Okay, that's it for this segment.